where the problem we come to is this particular cot that we have is different than all the surrounding towns, so there's no way to fasten a different cot into our truck. So the only way we could potentially do that is if I can get the salesman to come up and bring our mounting hardware up, and we could use a manual cot. But a manual cot is not going to work for some of our daytime crew.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just got to be exercised with extreme caution and know what it can do.
The only thing I'd ask Jesse, is there another means of paying for this other than buying it outright? Do they have a lease,
I didn't ask.
you know, where they get some specialized equipment?
I didn't ask, honestly. A lot of times they do have capital lease programs, but I just kind of needed one, and we have the money.
And you had the money.
And I had the money in the association
Yeah.
account.
He doesn't have even lease money in his budget.
Yeah,
So it's basically a Barbary fund.
and she would have
It's
appreciated
not,
it.
it's not town,
Right, it's
it
not.
is town funds, but it's not budgeted funds.
Well, yes.
And I'd rather argue with the auditor than to argue with the court.
Yeah, no. Because of liability of it.
Yeah.
I don't want that stupid thing to get anybody hurt. And
I say get it.
awesome. I'll bring it to Chicago. Okay, ambulance billing.
Wait, can we back up? Can I have a formal motion?
We really need to on that.
I would like to, so it's in the minutes for the auditors, when they question it.
No repercussions.
I make a motion to allow Jesse to purchase whatever that is, a power cot.
The power
Striker
plant.
Power Pro cot.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
If it makes you feel better, I just looked at the municipal buying consortium out of Massachusetts, and they don't have anything like that, so.
Nice.
These, yeah, these guys are awesome like that. And if it makes you feel better, it's built locally. Lebanon, yeah.
Nice.
Still takes 10 to 12 weeks. Okay, the other hot topic I'm on the board for, and I talked with Kelly about this today, is I got the numbers for billing. I can't share them at the moment with, well, I can actually do this. I can do,
We have them.
okay. So basically, do you see what happened with increasing our rates? The bottom line went up, but it's showing now, last year, previous to raising our rates, we made anywhere between $8,000 and $14,000. On paper, last year, we made $29,800.
Oh, we were
You
paid,
billed.
we were paid for what, 14 something?
We were paid for $14,036 that because we don't go to collections or pursue it or have collections buy our bad debt.
Which we've asked the question, how much is out there since 2005? Because that is when it started and it has never been pursued since then.
I didn't get a response yet.
So I think what you're gonna find, honestly, is I don't think you're gonna find as much as you think, because when I raised the rates, well, when you guys raised the rates last year, previous to that it was $200, which was well below Medicare, Medicaid allowable, and I'm pretty sure that you probably got paid a lot more often, the full amount, because it was so far under the national average. So basically this year here, if we had done still been at $200, we would have got $14,000, and we wouldn't have had this balance due of 15,000. It's just we've doubled the amount that we're billing and still getting the same amount.
But it looked to me like it was, it should be more than that, it should be at least 2/3 by looking at what they're paying. Because on a $400 bill, they were paying 300 and something.
Right, on some $300, on some. It's gonna break down as who the insurance is and
What you're saying, you got deadbeats. You
Yes.
get the deadbeats.
We got that beat.
$15,320.96 worth of them.
I think you gotta consider another variable too, that, you know, a lot of companies have gone to, the high deductible plans with HSAs. And that's a variable that, you know, there's only been the last few years in there too, so that may skew how we're looking at something.
Correct, absolutely. The other thing on a national level that is happening now is towns are installing town ordinances for ambulance service, non-transport ambulance service.
Do we know what Walpole does?
They do not have one.
But we don't know what they get back. Have you networked with any local towns is what I'm really asking in terms of what they,
Yes,
what they
we
charge and
we
what they
do
get.
we do the average for our socioeconomic background.
Mhm.
We're right where we should be. Walpole gets a higher collection rate because they have a higher
It's not an apples to
medium
apples, yeah,
income
right.
than we do. So we're actually right. I mean, I also work doing this as well. We're right on national average. I think that we can really beat these numbers up, but if you broke it down in a national average, you'd find that everybody's getting paid the same way. What would I do different with it? I maybe send it to collections. Maybe sell the debt. You'd probably get $5,000 for the debt, and that put you at 18,000. Or just in the private world, they write it off for a tax break, but obviously we can't do that.
Sounds like a summer project for the AABC.
I just think that we do have a lot of people that haven't paid. However, the most of the people that haven't are private pays.
So there's, yeah, I was gonna ask that, how many insurance companies haven't paid?
Yeah, no. The insurance companies pay. The other variable that you're gonna run into is New Hampshire Medicaid is you're gonna get what you get, and you cannot go after any additional Medicaid money. It's against federal law. And Medicare, you can only go after the co-insurance amount. You can't go after the full amount beyond what the government pays on that. So,
The thing that concerns me when I look at that report is there's payments from the insurance, but because you've, I'm gonna say, overinflated the cost, some of these people still have a $150 balance that we're not ever gonna see because their insurance has already covered it. But because you increased your transport from, you know, almost $160 a transport and your mileage, you know,
correct.
that we're not ever gonna cut, so I
So
just
my
briefly
my
looking
thought
at
with
that.
that in basic math is, previous to increasing it, we got $200. We typically got $200. That same $200 trip is now $396, and now we're receiving $309 of that.
Mhm.
So
And only
everybody's
$8
looking
for
at
mileage.
the balance that's uncollected. I'm looking at it as the bottom line went from $200 that we would have collected to $309, and the remainder is pretty abstract, honestly, to
There's
me.
probably probably $4,000 to $5,000 on that, on some of the other ones of due that, you know, we already got payment from the insurance.
Correct.
So,
I think from a financial perspective, personally, I'd be more concerned with the people that aren't paying anything, because they should have at least whatever it is, the Affordable Care Act
Right.
coverage,
right,
for one, and for two, do you have a bunch of repeat offenders on there, that just aren't paying?
However, the worst part of that is we can't deny service. So we have repeat offenders, I could probably see that. But under federal statute, there's nothing I can do. I can't say you don't pay your ambulance bill.
No,
but
but to me, those would be the ones you target trying to collect.
Right, however, those are the people with New Hampshire Medicaid and a $556 bill. Well, that was a good one. We get $434. So that person's got a $110 balance, and as I look down the sheet, there's quite a lot of those Medicaid, Medicare remainder balances that could you go after every single one of them? I'm sure that you could, but we've received $434 out of $556 when we would have only got 200.
Right, so why
Last year.
bother?
right.
That's kind of my question is, I wanted to bring the money up. My goal is to someday have the billables pay the entire ambulance budget, so it doesn't have to come out of the taxpayer's pocket. It's run fee for service. So, none.
Let me ask one question, Jesse, and because I'm new here. What does it cost to make an ambulance run? On average?
So the national average,
No, I'm asking your number. Not national, your number.
our number is relatively low because the equipment is old. It's
Yeah, but we're buying a power card,
right.
Uh,
So currently as it sets, $80 to $90. So we're very lucky at the moment that we have 3 people's payroll and 5 gallons of fuel on a piece of equipment.
for round trip.
Yeah.
Let me ask a different question. In last year, about how many calls did you go out on?
168.
So if you take your $40,000 budget and you divide it by 168 calls, did you say? You're looking pretty close to what it's gonna cost you per call on average.
Yeah.
Which is more than $90.
Well, yeah. What's that number?
About $200.
And only half of that 168 was transports. So about $100 a call, $80 to $100 per call
For the actual transport one.
for the actual transport calls.
But it's,
So Alan, where this really gets screwed up, quite honestly, is not the patients we transport, it's the patients that die. Because when somebody dies, it costs me about $900 to $1,100. And being
What are those fees? I mean, what, yeah, I mean, you say $900, why?
so the drugs, medications that we give them,
Okay,
not reimbursable.
yep,
Cardiac monitor pads at $150, $200 a piece. And now they want us to use 2 sets of them. So that will put us up over $2,000 that we can't collect on a cardiac arrest.
okay.
So basically what happened last year is we had a really bad year of cardiac arrest. And we can't bill anything for that.
And they are who? Who's they want you to use 2 sets of pads?
It's the
Profession.
Okay.
professional standards dictate what we do. This very conversation we have is being had all across the country right now,
Yeah.
because the hospitals and the insurance companies are going, well, what are we gonna do? And the biggest way is now you can't transport somebody if you're doing CPR on them. Or if somebody passes, you have to work on them for 20 minutes on scene, and if they die, then there you are. And if they survive, then you can transport them.
Okay.
And the way the white papers was written, this industry hasn't had any updates since 1969 when it was developed. And we're a transportation industry. We are listed right next to bus companies, and we can only charge a fare. Essentially, we're charging a fare. The only slight uptick we can do is a minimum charge for oxygen, which realistically the charge for oxygen and what oxygen now costs, it's kind of a wash. So,
I'm with Tim on this one. It costs you $200 and something a call, no matter what.
On average.
It cost us, the town.
essentially.
Well, no, cause he does get some reimbursement. What was it, $16,000 last year?
It still costs.
Well, that puts him back to $100 to the town. The town doesn't. Okay, in our budget it costs.
In our budget.
Right.
That's right. That's how I get it.
Right. So my goal is to someday have it so it doesn't cost everybody something, it only costs the people that use the service something. That to me would be a better way to do it.
It sounds like with the price hike that we did, the insurance companies, because everybody's looking at them, they pay anyway, so they're paying more.
Right.
But the higher price is discouraging people private pay. They're saying, oh, it's too big, so they're just not paying anything. He said there's a lot of people that just, private pays aren't paying anything.
Correct.
Is there a way to give like a private pay discount at all?
No.
No. Okay.
There's no way.
Well, how can you charge them more than what an insurance company's actually paying?
Were the private pays paying before? I mean, is there really any difference in the percent of
No.
private pays that aren't paying?
Right. Oh, there's not?
No.
You know what I'm saying, though? If that insurance company's only paying you $330 on a $400 call, how can you charge the average person $400?
But if I charge the insurance company $300, they're only gonna pay $230.
Exactly.
Just going back.
That's exactly, these are the,
No different than a hospital charging you more if you have insurance.
right, it's exactly it. I don't have the answers to this. What I'm saying is, it's up to you guys what we do with the perceived bad debt. This is a relatively new thing I think you're gonna find since we upped the rates.
This is the first time I've seen any printout on what we, maybe you have earlier, I don't know.
Well, I knew when I took over that $200 per call is so drastically far below the national average that the average insurance company was going, yeah, we'll give you $200, we're getting a hell of a deal. But now that we're up to national average, you know, we get paid what we get paid.
I think we should keep our eye on it.
Absolutely.
I have two questions you may not have the answers to. In 2017, we got, what was it, $900 and some income for bills, charges. Was that $900 and some for 2017 billings, or was that $900 and some that came in from 2016 billings?
That's a great Carol question.
Okay.
It's 2017.
So the other hardest part of this is, some of this money is coming in from 2015.
It takes
It can-
cycle after cycle after cycle.
It can
before you
take
get
up to
any
3
money.
years to get paid.
Yeah.
Because it's the government and they do whatever the hell they want. But a lot of this money the spreadsheet on billing is so hard with Medicare and Medicaid. Private insurance, not so much. Quite honestly, most people that have, you know, Blue Cross Blue Shield, paid. You know? Paid. I mean, there's just the people that have no insurance don't pay anything.
what do the private, like Deluzio, what happens say if you guys can't make the call, Deluzio comes, how do they get paid?
So, they charge us.
Charge town.
Yeah, full board, full price.
Yeah, they get.
Or they don't
no matter
come.
what.
So they get paid no matter what, which is an agreement that I would like to renegotiate with maybe another ambulance service, because I don't know of any place else that pays somebody's bill because they couldn't get a service.
It sounds to me like there's a lot of networking that needs to go on with some of the EMS heads to talk about what goes on in the different towns. There's that big article, it was just in the.
I was in that meeting. They
Mhm.
just didn't interview me because I don't think I had an opinion that they liked as much as the other people's that they did, but I was in that whole process.
Selective interview.
It was a very selective interview because there was several of us that had some similar ideas that were not invited to have big fancy articles about us in the
This sounds like a
newspaper.
budget committee project.
Yeah, let's throw it out to the budget committee and see if they're interested in tackling something, because I think there's a lot we could look into. We may find out we're better off than we think. Find out the exact opposite.
I'd like to think that we're doing the best job that we can for the people for a comparatively fair rate as to what most towns pay and are charged for ambulance coverage.
How does somebody like Ackworth Langdon survive? I mean, they're using private carrier, correct?
Right.
So how do they fund it? I'm just, because I'm trying to get educated on it.
So basically, Golden Cross has they figured out this magical number and they charge the town per person such an amount of number.
They're contracted basically for you.
Yeah, they're contracted.
But then the people have to pay the bill.
Yeah.
And then the people have to pay the bill as well.
The town's not involved with it, see.
Right.
That's to cover all the no transport, so the company charges the town, like let's say they charge them $20,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, the town pays the 20 and they don't worry about it.
Right. And then the individual person is responsible for their bill. And if you don't pay them,
They go after
then they have these guys come after you, send it to collections,
Mm-hmm.
do whatever they have to do to get paid as much as
All right.
they can get paid. However, I would like to think the one thing that we have working for us is we can't always get a crew, but we more often than not get a crew. And even when we can't get a crew, now with our partnership with Walpole, we have a truck coming from Walpole as opposed to Keene. So we're getting a truck here.
And the Walpole rates are the same as what you're billing out at?
Yep.
Okay.
And when Walpole covers a call that we are not able to cover, they do not send us a bill,
And vice versa.
and vice versa.
Okay.
So, however, Walpole would only cover to the town guard. Just logistics of distance. So, basically, if we don't cover a call in East Alstead, we get charged, whereas down here, we don't.
Mhm.
So,
I assume holds true for Valley Road and stuff like that.
yes, and we actually have an agreement with Walpole now that they automatically respond anywhere on the Valley Road, Pratt Road, Proctor Road,
Okay.
anything to 12A.
Yep.
Because they're just closer. I mean, we had a serious call there tonight, and they beat us by 10 minutes.
Sure.
Just because they're so much closer. It
Yep.
only makes sense.
So there's a 7-year statutory law for you guys to go after and collect medical bills. So on some of these, you've already passed that. So the company that I looked into,
We can go back 7 years.
you can only go back, yep, you can go back 7 years.
Well,
And they take a percentage, it's a tiered rate percentage, so.
if the HIPAA laws won't allow us to know who it is that's being transported, How are we gonna go collect?
You,
So this
We
is
don't.
how it works.
my friends, can take a HIPAA compliance
Oh, no.
No,
class
It
with
doesn't
every,
work like that with billing,
what's that?
not with billing. Everything has to run through our office. Yep, so, EMS sends us all the information, and we send it to the,
So somehow the collection agency has the right to find out who the people are that are.
Yep.
And we don't,
no,
so
so,
that's a disadvantage that
yes.
we have.
so this is a collection agency that works hand in hand with EMS,
Yeah.
that they
Okay.
actually recommend. Mhm. So,
So, I think whatever you guys would like to do, I'd like to continue doing what we're doing. I would also really like to maybe think about a town ordinance on no transports.
like you wanna charge people for transport.
Yeah.
You know, last year the EMSG stopped before it got to the ambulance crew, because we were basically told you did enough. The ambulance group was fine. And so maybe we need a small group, whether it's the EMSG, a subcommittee, the budget committee, or something else, you know, to take a look at some of the things involved with the, you know, target a few key items and look at what's going on in terms of the business end, at least, of the ambulance squad.
We'll go to the calls. The revenue has came up either way, whether it's a few $100s or the additional $15,000 that's uncollected. Either way, it's came up, as I said in the beginning, that it would. I think the unpaid balance is kind of an unintended consequence of the rate increase. So,
Well, I commend you, this is the first time we've at least gotten a scope of the magnitude of the problem. And it's not as bad as I thought that it was gonna be, so I'm happy there.
I don't think that it's.
Out of,
There's two ways of looking at it. It's either $15,000 that's out there in the ether, or that it's we made more than we've been making in the past.
I get you.
If we were a private service, it would be a tax write-off. We're not. It's a town. Whatever you guys would like to do with it.